Now, from the University of Okoboji, it's Okoboji Broadcast with Jeff Thee.
Welcome to Okoboji Broadcast, everybody. I'm Jeff Thee, coming once again. Hey, it's Wednesday, so that means there's history abound.
Yay!
And like, yay, everybody. Here at the Dickinson County Museum, and Mary Dreier is here with me again. And we're going to have an interesting talk on, I don't know how many people know about this. Mary,
I think if you're less than 80, you may not.
Yeah.
But if you're over 80, like one of my good friends, Bob Boettcher, is, you know about this,
Yes.
this thing. There was a snowstorm back in 1940 that has been written about in the history books. It's a day that, as we say about other things, a day that lived in infamy.
Yes.
And what I'm talking about is the Armistice Day Blizzard of 1940. It happened just about this time of year, November 10th and 11th.
Mm-hmm. And just this is when they truly called it Armistice Day too.
Yes.
Because 1940 was before we got into World War II.
Absolutely.
So and my mother, to the day she passed, that was Armistice Day. But anyway, so
Exactly.
November 11th, 1940.
10th and 11th, it was a Sunday night, Monday sort of blizzard thing. And my understanding from talking to some of the old timers around here, Jeff, is that it was a beautiful day. Sunday started out as a beautiful day. Mm-hmm. And it was a day when lots and lots of people were out hunting. Pheasant hunting, duck hunting. I understand that there were a lot of people on the lake in their boats hunting ducks. It was just a glorious day.
Now, was the lake hadn't been frozen yet at this point?
No.
So it was
early November.
It was wide open still.
It was wide open,
Okay.
and it was a warm day. It was a sunny day, and back in 1940, live radar had not been invented yet. So
weather could sneak up on you.
Right, there wasn't much warning for this.
No.
And from what I understand, the weather turned foggy, just right away.
Yeah.
And then freezing rain, and then snow. But there was no warning, and it came up all of a sudden on this really nice day.
Yeah.
And so there were a lot of hunters that got stranded out in the fields. There were people in cars that got stranded. It was horrendous.
It was a true snow and ice storm.
It was the big deal.
Do we know how many inches? Has anybody ever said of?
I believe I've read that it was about a foot of snow and strong winds.
With
and
wind.
You know how strong the winds can be up here.
Do it to you every time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, again, no warning for this thing. And one of the things that happened, and one of the reasons that this storm is so well remembered among the old timers in this area, is that there was a plane crash that happened into Big Spirit Lake. The story of this crash is that this Army plane carrying 3 guys in it was, coming over the area. It was on its way to St. Paul, I believe. And the storm came up all of a sudden, and it got into big trouble.
And they just couldn't get above it.
They couldn't get above it. They were flying low because it was a training plane. They were flying pretty low. And it ended up going into Big Spirit Lake off of Big Stony Point.
Wow.
Was where it was. And we've got one guy who actually remembers this and heard the sound of the plane. Bob Boettcher was a kid of about 17 or so, living on his farm northwest of Spirit Lake. And he was out in this storm, and he heard the sound of the plane going down. And we've got a little clip of him talking about this. We think you'll enjoy. There aren't many people around that can tell a first-hand version of this story.
Right.
I'm Bob Boettcher, and I lived on a farm northwest of Spirit Lake, 5 miles. And I was around when the 1941 snowstorm hit the county. At that time, I had gone hunting in the afternoon. It was foggy, and came home at night, and my father had passed away, but my mother and us lived on the farm. She asked one of the boys to put her car away. I went out to put the car away, And when I was just getting in the car, all of a sudden I heard a roar. And I wondered, my God, this is a bad night for a plane to be out. But the next day we found out that the plane went down in the Spur Lake.
Yeah, to hear that, the sound of a plane, and find out the next day that it had indeed crashed.
It had in the water, and it was so bad. The weather was so bad that the rescuers couldn't go out right away, and there was nothing that could be done. And the 3 guys in the Army plane were killed.
Right, and you've got some of the artifacts.
We do.
From that crash right here in the museum. Yeah.
We do. We're very fortunate to have one of the tires from the actual plane. We also have a piece of a wing from the plane. We're very fortunate to have that. This is a piece of history that needs to be remembered.
Yeah.
You know, we forget that life was different back in 1940, and things like this happened without warning, and it's very different than it is today. It
no
really is.
Forewarning, like you say, no Doppler radar, no, unless you were on the phone with somebody in Sioux City or somewhere saying, boy, we got a heck of a snowstorm and it's probably headed here. We wouldn't know.
No. And the other thing that happened that was tragic along with this plane crash is that the livestock were incredibly affected. I've read accounts where here's one story of a guy near Lake Park who had 1,300 turkeys on his farm ready to process for Thanksgiving.
Sure.
Out of the 1,300 turkeys, 1,100 died.
Oh my gosh.
A lot of cattle died.
Yeah.
Other birds died. It was just huge proportions.
Yeah. You know, and today when you see, and there's still people that when they hear a storm's coming, they rush to the store and they buy the joint out. But you know, in those days, if you were out on the farm and you didn't have provisions, you know, you could go hungry because you didn't have the quick snow removal like we have now on the highways and our secondary roads. When you got a storm like that, you could be sitting there for 2 or 3 days if you're lucky.
And another thing that happened during this storm is that there were summer residents that were here because it was such a nice weekend. They were here in their summer homes and got stuck by this blizzard. And from what I've read, for the most part, they had the food to get through, but their cabins were not winterized.
Yep, very
with
few
no
then.
heat source. And there's a story I read of one couple who stayed 2 or 3 days in their cabin with no heat. The interior temps were low 50s, upper 40s, and they bundled up in all their coats. Of course, they wouldn't have had winter coats.
No.
You know, and it was cold. They had the food, but they were cold.
Yeah.
They were really cold.
That was just one of those devastating storms. And then the story of, I wonder how much of the plane they were able to extract. You know, you've got the tire, you got part of the wing, and you wonder.
You know, I don't know what happened to the main part of the plane. I know I've talked to a couple different scuba divers from around here, and story kind of has it that perhaps there's part of the plane still down there, but in the 80 years? Yeah, 80 years since the crash, I'm sure that where it went down has been searched and searched and searched again.
Right.
But I don't know where the main part of the plane is.
Well, maybe the Army came in and
they might have
got stuff out. Who knows?
They might have. Yeah.
So, what an interesting part of our history here.
And to know somebody who actually experienced this.
Yes.
Actually experienced this. We just love hearing stories like this at the museum.
Yeah, and you have interesting talks on Wednesdays, and you gotta remind people about that. I'm just saying, it had almost 30 people here this morning, and
we had a
lively discussion.
We had a very lively discussion about the flood of '93, and we had so many people participate in that, and it was just wonderful. We had several guys here who worked for the DOT during the flood, who kind of told us more of the backstory of how the flood control actually went on and what they actually did. And many people remembered the flood, of course, and told their own personal stories. Yeah. Stories are great, great. I'm so glad that you like stories,
I do
Jeff.
love stories. Well, I mean, that's where the history is. It's everybody's individual stories of what they experienced over some experience, and like we say, everybody's got a story. So
That's right. And Wednesdays at 10 o'clock, we are open for just informal storytelling. We typically don't have a topic. We just visit with whoever comes in that day, and the conversation flows, and it's really fun.
Your own little coffee clutch.
Well, sort of. It's people enjoy sharing, and they enjoy listening and learning.
Yeah.
So we invite you all to come to the museum 10 o'clock on Wednesday mornings.
Very good. All right. Well, thanks for the story on the Armistice Day Blizzard of 1940 and the plane crash that ensued from that. Mary, thanks for joining us here today.
Thanks a bunch, Jeff. I always enjoy it.
It's always fun, right here at the Dickinson County Museum. This is where history comes alive, everybody. We want to thank Mary for being with us. We thank you for watching us right here on Okoboji Broadcast. Okoboji Broadcast from the studios at historic Arnold's Park Amusement Park is brought to you in part by the headquarters of the University of Okoboji is at the Three Sons, open Monday through Saturday 10 to 5 and Sunday from 10 to 4. The Scott Troutman State Farm Agency in Spirit Lake. Quest Wealth Management, a financial advisory practice of Ameriprise Financial Services. Advisor Jan Spielman, AJ Spielman, and Erica Wachholz. Ducky's Marine and Motorsports Repair in Spirit Lake. Bank Midwest, dream big, plan wisely, live well. Lakes Regional Healthcare and Avera Partner. Ruthven Locker at the Lake, where carnivores are welcome on Hill Avenue in Spirit Lake. Beck Engineering in Spirit Lake. Be Radiant Laser Skin Studio in the Okoboji Plaza in Okoboji.